Hi, everyone. Welcome to the PokeBeach.com podcast. My name is John. I go by Water Pokemon Master on the website, and I am joined by the wonderful
Justin Basil
of JustinBasil.com. And today we are going to cover this week's Pokemon TCG news, and we're going to go through it as quickly as we can. I guess we should do introductions quickly about ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go first.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Introduce yourself. Who are you? Nobody knows you. Nobody's seen your face before.
Well, they have, but I don't like to be in front of I like my work to speak for itself. I don't like being in front of the camera. But my name is John. I started PokeBeach back in 2003 when I was 13 or 14 years old. You maybe know me on the site as Water Pokemon Master. I've been covering the Pokemon TCG for over 20 years now, and I've been a part of the online fandom every day since September 1998. So I've seen it all, done it all, and this community means a lot to me, and that's why I've never left it. Pokemon is how I make friends and how I communicate with other people through our shared Poke Talk, and yeah. Was that good?
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
All right.
You go.
I suppose I should introduce myself for those who don't know me. I go by Justin Basil. That's just in Basil with the breaks in the words, not Justin. I started justinbasil.com in June of 2019, so it's been about 4 years now. Came back to the game after having been gone for quite a long time around the release of Ultra Prism. So, and I created justinbasil.com originally as a place to host a deck building guide, literally just slap a PDF on it and call it done. And it's kind of evolved a bit from there.
Yeah, it's a great resource for competitive players.
Yeah. And hopefully for beginners too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Of
yeah.
course. And beginners. That was the whole point of the website. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
You don't want me calling you by your real name, even though I know it, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to awkwardly refer to you as Justin Basil, which is really awkward, but
Justin Basil or Basil for short works. Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into the news for the week. So we are going to start with, I better change the scene for our YouTube viewers. So, we're going to start with the 3 trademarks that were discovered for Crimson Haze, Night Wanderer, and Mask of Change. So these have been filed under the same terms as trademarks previously used for sets. And there's a 100% success rate of those trademarks turning into actual sets. So we're pretty certain these are going to be real sets.
Yeah.
Crimson Haze, I think I know who all 3 of these trademarks are referring to. 2 of them are spoilers. Do you know who they are?
I mean, I can only guess. Mask of Change is fairly obvious.
Yeah, it's that is
Mask
obviously
of Change is really obvious. Yeah.
Ogre Pond. And
I mean, I could guess Crimson Haze and Night Wanderer are maybe some of the the new Pheasantipity,
the teal.
It's that cluster.
Oh, well, that's not what my thought was. My thought was, this is going to be a spoiler for those of you who haven't played the Teal Mask yet, but I think everybody's kind of been spoiled if you are on social media. But I think Crimson Haze is referring to Blood Moon Ursaluna, which you can see right there. It has like a red full moon on its face. So I think that's who that might be referring to. And then Night Wanderer, I think might be Sinistra. Is that how you say it? Sinistra?
Sinistra?
Yeah, because Poltergeist, Poltergeist, its pre-evolution, wanders around spreading matcha everywhere. So, and it does it at night under houses. So I think that's going to be for Sinistra. And did you notice there that the names are flipped?
Yeah, we had a conversation about this, it literally brought you bringing it up to me for me to realize.
Yeah, so originally
I hate it so much.
It's originally Sinisty evolves into Poltergeist in, Galar, and then now we have in, what's the region? Kitakami. We have it reversed where it's Poltergeist, the pre-evolution that was revealed in that promotional video, evolves into Sinistra.
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 It's
like
I don't know if they're gonna do a whole set around Sinistra. Like, Do they think it's that popular of a Pokemon?
I don't know. Maybe
know.
I mean there's only a couple of new Pokemon in the DLC, so I don't know. Their options might be limited.
This is coming out probably what, Marchish?
You showed me
Roughly?
you'd had that on your website. You had a little calendar.
Yeah, well, I had an estimate of like maybe March timeframe roughly. This could be stuff for the DLC, the second DLC. So it may be Pokemon we haven't seen yet too.
Oh, you could be right. Oh, you know what? You might be right. I don't know. Oh, you might be. I don't know. Obviously,
and again, Mask of Change is Ogerpon, so
yeah, but we haven't gotten anything for Terragapos yet, unless it's going to be that
Terapagos.
Is that how you say it?
Terapagos. I feel like we should, because like that's going to be a good card. It has to be.
Yeah, right? and it's a very beautiful Pokemon. I love it.
It's
like a turtle with a bushy tail, lots of colors on it. Reminds me of like a My Little Pony or something. But so we know that Ogerpon's going to have a set, obviously, Mask of Change. But yeah, you're right. It might be the second DLC. I don't know. We'll have to wait. See, we can only speculate when these trademarks come out. And we've been, it's always speculation. We make that clear. And we've been wrong before. Like, we thought Ancient Roar and Future Flash would be Iron, what's its face? Iron
Leaves and...
Yeah, Iron Leaves and Walking
Leaves?
Wake. Yeah, whatever it was. The Virizion and Suicune Paradox Pokemon. But so it's just speculation. But yeah, so we've got those sets coming out, and then obviously Raging Surf came out this week. Ancient Roar and Future Flash are coming out October 27th. Then we have Shiny Treasure in December, which will obviously feature reprints of cards that have come out in the last year, but a shiny Pokemon. Presumably, we don't know.
There'll probably be like 20 to 30 new cards in there too. Usually those sets have some new cards in them.
Yeah,
and the way we've seen the reveals for Paradox Rift so far makes me think we're gonna have probably 20 or 30 cards to get cut from Paradox Rift.
Yeah,
and most likely put into some mini set at the beginning of the year, kind of like Crimson Crown Zenith or Shining Fates kind of sort of thing, where they have a bunch of hodgepodge stuff to create the set.
Yeah,
and then
put all those
shiny cards in there. Yeah.
And then in January, we don't know if it's going to be in January, but Cyber Judge and Wild Force are presumably the following main set with Iron Leaves and Walking Wake, which we originally thought were going to be Ancient War and Future Flash. We also have this Battle Academy trademark, which is presumably a set, but could also be a product. That one is the only trademark I'm iffy about, but
I think that's probably a set still.
Yeah, it's under the same terms, as I said, as trademarks previously used for set names, but you never know. We can only ever go off precedent, and sometimes
it is amusing that it has the same name as a product that TPCI puts out.
I know. Well, that's how it goes. Okay, yeah. And then let's go to what was the next story? Okay, so the next news story was the
Treasures of Ruin.
Oh yeah. Okay, so they've started to reveal cards from the Japanese set Ancient Roar and Future Flash, which are coming out October 27th. Those are going to be our what was the set in English?
Paradox Rift.
Sorry, Paradox Rift.
It says in the article.
I know. I should just read what I wrote.
It's fun.
So Ancient Roar and Future Flash coming out October 27th, going to be incorporated into Paradox Rift in November. So we got these very interesting Technical Machine cards. One of them, Technical Machine Devolution, which harkens back to the original ATM, Ancient Technical Machine Rock from EX Hidden Legends in 2004. They are functionally the same card. They both are TMs you attach to a Pokemon, and it allows you to use an attack for one colorless energy called Devolution, which simply makes your opponent remove all their evolution cards, all their evolved Pokemon in play, and put them into their hand. So why don't you explain to our viewers, since you are the much more competitive player than I am, why this card is shaking up the community and why it is exciting and also scary?
So, okay, first off, I want to clarify a little bit of how this card works, because I have seen some confusion. So it does specify evolved Pokemon.
Right, not evolution.
So, not evolution Pokemon. So Pokemon like Archeops has been put into play by some effect. They are evolution Pokemon, but they are not evolved Pokemon. So they're not going to magically be flying up into your opponent's hand and ending Lugia's chance at competitive viability. That's not happening.
It's if you physically have the an evolved card over like a basic or stage 1 or rare candy or whatever.
So like even if you've like, let's say you've cheated stage 1 into play, I don't know, via Mirage Steps with Curlia, for example, and you evolve that up into a Gardevoir. The Gardevoir would go back up to their opponent's hand,
right?
But the Curlia would still stay,
right?
But the flip side is if it were just the Curlia that's hit because it can't be hit, nothing would happen to it.
Right.
It's not involved.
So tell us, what is this? What is this? Why is everyone so scared of this? How is this going to shake it up? And put it in layman terms.
So the biggest thing for people why they're scared of this, it's a twofold thing, right? One, everybody's getting a bit of hope that the meta is going to shift more towards stage 2 Pokemon, right? They've started to see stuff like Gardevoir, for example, even Charizard to a lesser degree, see some competitive success. And people are hoping, hey, we're going to go back to the good times where we have a whole variety of different sorts of decks, all competing with one another. And it's great, right? We'll actually have evolution matter again, not just big, basic evolving into bigger stage 1 functionally, right? The problem that we're going to have is that in combination with spread effects, especially that of Sableye, which is really popular right now in Lost Box, where people can sprinkle, 6 damage counters here, 6 damage counters there, and then hit you with devolution, right? So if you have a rare candied, a Ralts that has been rare candied into Gardevoir X, right? Your opponent doesn't necessarily have to knock out that Gardevoir. All they have to do is take a Sableye, put the correct number of damage counters on there to knock out Ralts with Sableye at some point during the game, and then spam or hit you with devolution.
I feel like
so they can set it up so that they hit all of your Gardevoirs all at once, and then Ralts knocks out.
I feel like the trading card game has always had this fight between big basics and evolving decks. Like it always feels like decks that are evolving to like stage 2s or whatever are always get the short end of the stick. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, you are, but not really that wrong. That's the thing is recently, especially that's been the case where the big basics are just ruining the format.
Yeah.
And I will say it that way. They are ruining the format. And that was especially the case during the tag team era where the tag teams literally between the rotations that happened and got rid of most of the single prizer support, Arceus Yaga and Palkia GX, just making it so that everything was worth an extra prize card. It just made it completely unviable for anything that evolved, right? Because suddenly all your little squishy things and all your support Pokemon were just easy targets and there was nothing. But in prior formats, and in one of the more loved formats recently, one of my personal favorite formats, Sun and Moon Lost Thunder, you have a huge variety of different sorts of decks. Right? You have decks like Blacephalon GX, which is a basic Pokemon, but it has to rely on Naganadel, which is a stage 1, and that's its support Pokemon, right? So and that format in particular had a very large variety of different types of decks. You had the basic decks like Blacephalon, but you also had crazy stuff with it. Was like there was a Gardevoir, Swampert, and Ninetales GX deck. You had 3 different Pokemon in the deck, and they all evolved, and it was crazy, but it worked, and it was interesting. And so people look back to the formats like that one, or even to the original EX era, and go, I want that. And then they see a card like this that could potentially take that away from them.
PTSD.
And they're scared. Yeah, it's they're no, that's really what it is. The community has a sort of PTSD toward this big basics era, where now suddenly no basics or nothing but basics are viable because of a card like this. Now, is the panic premature? Probably. I feel like during the Scarlet and Violet era, the designers have been considerably more cautious with how they've been designing cards, but they haven't been perfect, right? Even as recently as Silver Tempest, we've had really, really, really egregious effects, right? But Silver Tempest, of course, is a Sword and Shield set, and Sword and Shield, in my opinion, was one of the worst eras of the trading card game. So, at least for players, right? In terms of art and collecting, it had some good stuff going for it for sure. But in terms of playing, it was a dark era.
So then let's talk about this TM evolution. You just want to hit on it briefly?
Just briefly, evolution I think is an interesting card, and maybe in a way it's kind of a way to try to get
It's
away from the devolution.
we didn't explain what it's just the reverse where it allows you to evolve two benched. Or it's not the reverse.
I'll go ahead and read it real quick.
Sure.
I'll read it real quick. So evolution says the attack says choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from each of those Pokemon, and put those cards on top of them to evolve them. So you're basically picking 2 of your bench Pokemon and then searching your deck for their evolutions. That's pretty cool, right? And if you can get that off turn 1, that's great. Honestly. That's really great.
Yeah, good support card. And then the Treasures of Ruin legendaries are just whatever, right?
They're bulk. Yeah, they're bulk. I don't think any of them are especially good, unfortunately.
All right. So now let's move on to just a minor story. We had the official images of the Gyarados EX Premium Collection come out. This is going to be a GameStop exclusive releasing on November 3rd for $39.99, or I should just say $40. For the first time, we're seeing the magnetic card protector with a display base that it's going to come with. The Charizard EX Premium Collection is also going to come with this. It just looks like like a little top loader that just sits on a stand.
It looks really loud too. It's very plasticky looking.
Very gaudy.
I don't know. Yeah, I would say gaudy.
Yeah, it's gaudy, but I bet kids will love it. I mean, and then the
kids will love it. Yeah.
It comes with a full art of Gyarados EX and a reverse hollow Magikarp, and then some Gyarados sleeves, which were released in Japan last year, or maybe earlier this year, and then 6 packs, and yeah, is that all we say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's got.
We're not gonna pad these. We're just gonna go through them. These news stories. Okay, and then the next news story of the week was the Van Gogh museum collaboration with Pokemon. So TPCI announced that they're going to have a collaboration with the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam that's going to start September 28th. They didn't release any other details about it, so they haven't really said anything. But we discovered a public listing showing that TPCI ordered Van Gogh promo cards from one of their printing factories overseas. So this seems to indicate that they're going to have promo cards that tie into this exhibit. And in the video that they showed announcing this whole thing, they had they have artwork of Sunflora in Van Gogh's style, which is in the same aspect ratio as a Pokemon card. So it looks like this could be a promo card, a Sunflora promo card that they're going to release. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if necessarily this would be one, but I could see them releasing.
Oh, come on. How would this not be one? They like literally drew the artwork for it.
We'll see. I don't know. It just feels like that style may not work very well for a card, to be honest.
That's the whole point,
that
though.
Particular picture.
Well, see, that's the great thing about it is that it's the sorry, let me get back to that point. But in 2018, they had I don't know how to pronounce his name, Edward Munchlax. Edward Munchlax. They had an exhibit of another famous artist with the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum, and it was for his screen painting. It was the first time it was on display in Japan, his famous screen painting, and Pokemon released promo cards of Pikachu, Eevee, Psyduck, Mimikyu, and Rowlet that were in the same style as his painting, The Scream, and you can see it here. They're very unique promos, and I think the idea for these collaborations is that it's supposed to get kids interested in fine art. They collect the cards and they're like, oh, why are these art styles so bizarre? They don't look like normal Pokemon cards. So in 2018, we had these 5 promos that were very interesting looking. And I had to look up who this guy was because I'm not into fine art, and because I'm very pedestrian. And so that I think is the point of having like a potentially a Van Gogh promo cards, because it gets kids interested in this guy. I mean, because that art is so bizarre for a Pokemon card, as you said.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna have to actually go to the museum to get it, though. That's gonna be the catch.
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, that's what they did for the Tokyo one, but that was the Pokemon Company. This one, these promos, the listing that we saw was for the Pokemon Company International. So it might be for the museum. That's also my gut feeling. But it could be maybe also a Pokemon Center promotion. I don't know. It might not be, but the point I'm just trying to make is that it's a different company, so they might handle it differently. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. All right. So, and those also, I want to mention those screen promos were very popular in the collector market. So
they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
I understand it.
And they were hard to get because you had to go, as you mentioned. So it might be the same for this. We'll see. All right. So our next news story for the week was, the illustration contest. So the 2024 illustration contest was announced. This is a contest where regular fans can submit artwork of certain Pokemon, and one of them will be made into a Pokemon card. The last time we had this was in 2022. We skipped a year. The first time it was open to people to fans from the United States. This time it's also open to fans from the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and of course the US and Japan. This year the theme is magical Pokemon moments. The artists are supposed to draw Pokemon enjoying their day or looking cool and dynamic and kind of a magical Pokemon scene. And you can draw artwork of Charizard, Pikachu, Eevee, Feraligatr, my favorite, Flygon, Absol, Bidoof. I hate how they push Bidoof so much. Melmetal, Ampform, Toxtricity, or Koraidon. And the entries will be taken from October 12th through January 31st. And the winner will be announced in September 2024, presumably to be a promo card distributed at the Pokemon Center, like it was for the last contest, where there were actually 3 cards. Whoa, that was a mouthful. Yeah. So what do we think of this?
I mean, I think it's cool. I love the illustration contest. You get the chance to see new art from people that wouldn't normally be part of the trading card games artwork, and then a lot of them have joined the teams that have created art for sets.
They have the Gardevoir one from 2020, I think it was, or 2019. She joined as an illustrator. She did the do you remember what she did? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember seeing her name. And yeah, they have recruited some of these artists to work for the actual card game, which is really exciting. I like that they give fans an opportunity to join the team. And so we'll see what you guys submit, and then they will in September, and presumably in the months up to that, they're going to show the runner-ups and everything, or they're going to show like the top 50 illustrations and then narrow it down, so we will get to see what people submit along the way. And then if you go to the article, if you're interested, we also review in the article past illustration contests. So as usual, you can go to the website for more details and of course for quicker news. Is that all we say?
Yeah. Okay. Go to PokeBeach for the news.
Yeah. We're doing pretty good so far, I think, in this podcast. Wouldn't you say?
We're doing great.
I was so nervous. I was like up all night. I don't know. I just don't like being in front of the camera. All right, so our next news story is that the Terra Mewtwo EX and Terra Skeledirge EX decks were fully revealed, all the unique cards from the decks. These decks are going to release on September 22nd in Japan. They feature about, 15 unique cards or so?
I think it's like 16. Yeah, it's somewhere around there.
And they'll obviously be thrown into a future set.
Yeah. We'll see if it's Paradox Rift. I'm not completely sold that it is, but based on the number of Terra Pokemon in Paradox Rift, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. Paradox
Rift in November. So, what would you say are the most notable cards here? Should we talk about the EXs first?
I think both the EXs need to be highlighted, and I also think Xatu needs to be highlighted.
Right,
sure.
Xatu, definitely. Okay, so Mewtwo EX is a Terra Pokemon. For 1 psychic energy, it has Trans Charge, which is trans as in transfer. Attach up to 2 basic psychic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. And then Photon Kinesis for 10 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each psychic energy attached to all of your Pokemon.
Yeah, so the attack is very much akin to that of Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. Mm-hmm. So it's doing a big bursty attack damage. And unlike something like a Zacian V, where you have to pool all of your energy onto Zacian itself, this lets you be a little bit more conservative with it. You can spread it around and not lose all of it the second you lose that Pokemon.
Can I ask you? So Mewtwo EX is a lightning type. Have these? Because again, I haven't played competitively in a little while. But Terra Mewtwo EX is a lightning type. Are these Terra's shifted types? Are they making any kind of impact? Is it? I mean, I don't like their hats, so I'm wondering how they're doing competitively. Do people like them? Are they still too new for that?
Nobody likes the hats.
Oh yeah, nobody likes. I hate those.
No one likes the hats.
I hate anything that ties a I hate anything that isn't timeless. And to me, like the hats are only going to be in this generation, and then they're going to be gone. I don't like that, and I don't like the hats themselves.
Just give us Mega Evolutions again and call it done.
Something like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
But anyway, so how are these Terra shifted types? Are they doing anything for the game, the meta game?
So I'm trying to think. The only one that's done anything at the moment that I can think of off the top of my head is Charizard.
Oh, well,
and even it's kind of struggling to make any sort of real mark on the meta. It's kind of on the fringes of like tier 3 at the moment. Mm-hmm. It could jump in, but it really hasn't seen a ton of competitive success.
Well, we usually see that when
see if Mewtwo can.
Sorry, when new mechanics usually come out, they don't usually make an impact right away. It takes a few sets. So is that what we're seeing here? Or are they just going to always suck?
I mean, we'll see. It'd be very interesting for a starter deck card like this one to be the first truly competitively viable one. Mm-hmm. It may be that this one's not any good either. We'll see.
And then
it does seem like it could be.
And then we have Skeledirge EX, which is a metal type, and its ability it has 330 HP, and its ability is Explosive Song. Once during your turn, you may discard a fire energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. During this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for applying weakness and resistance. And then it's for 2 fire energy, Raster Burn, 160 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So what do you think of this?
I mean, Explosive Song is explosively crazy. That's a lot of damage, and there is no hard once per turn either. So if you have multiple Skeledirges in play, that ramps up very quickly. And then you can play this with something like an NTV, and then use a couple of Explosive Songs, hit extraordinarily hard with Entei, hit extraordinarily hard with the Skeledirge, because it's not even limiting it to fire type Pokemon. It's all of your Pokemon if they're attacking or doing extra damage. So if you drop 4 Explosive Songs, right, and now suddenly attack that would do 10 damage is doing 250. I think that's crazy.
It's kind of interesting that because these theme decks usually suck, and it seems like these two have some potential. So
Skeledirge I think is a little less good just because you have to set it up as a stage 2. Mm-hmm. So there is that, but it could still be decent. That plus 60 is fairly significant. So if it can find the right partner, I could see it being competitively viable in the future, but maybe not right away.
Nice. And then we have Xatu, which has the how do you pronounce this ability?
This is Akashic Sense. So Xatu is actually one of my favorites. So Xatu has Akashic Sense. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic psychic energy from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon. If you do, draw 2 cards. So this ability will sound very familiar to a lot of people because it's extremely similar to Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX's ability, Underworld Door. The difference is this going to attach to whatever.
Yep.
As long as it's on the bench.
So this is
a single pricer.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to see some play.
Yes, there's no way this doesn't see play. This card's amazing.
All right. And then the other cards in the deck are pretty.
I think the only other one that's kind of interesting is the Volcanion. It's kind of a pseudo reprint of the Volcanion from a while back. It's also very similar to the Unbroken Bonds Volcanion. It's just kind of a little bit of early game acceleration. I don't know if it's good enough for the current format right now with how fast things are, but it is kind of worth noting. It has an attack dual turbo for a single fire energy, does 20 damage. Then you choose up to 2 of your benched Pokemon and attach a basic fire energy card from your discard pile to each of those. And then for a fire energy and 3 colorless, it has a heavy impact, which does 120 damage. So with 130 HP, it's pretty squishy. It's probably gonna get knocked out right away, but it might be worth noting for the future.
And these are the decks. All right, so now let's talk about these new Victini EX promos. We'll talk about them real quickly. They're 2 new Victini EX promos are going to be given out as tournament prizes in Taiwan. And these 2 cards have not been seen in Japan yet. One is a full art. The other one is a special illustration rare, which is really cute. It's got Plusle and Minun in the artwork, and Gengar and Tapu Coco. and
Donphan, Garchomp, basically everything from
Gimme
Raging
Ghoul,
Surf.
yeah, Gimme Ghoul and Garchomp, and that's because it's the tournaments are going to be like Raging Surf pre-releases, basically where you open up booster packs of Raging Surf and make a 40 card deck in Taiwan. So we don't know if these cards are going to release outside of the country yet. We have been seeing more country exclusive cards lately, including that the Charizard VMAX that still hasn't released in Japan, but it was released at these kinds of tournaments. So we don't know if we're going to see these Victini EX promos elsewhere, but we'll see.
I wonder if these are part of Raging Surf's card set.
I don't know.
Or if maybe they're, because they could be part of Raging Surf, they could be part of Shiny Treasure. We haven't seen, for the record, as we're recording, so we have yet to see most of the special cards from
Raging Surf. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, no. Oh, you're saying these could be part of the secret rares in the set? Oh, no, I don't think so.
In Japan, yeah.
Oh, no,
I don't. In Japan.
No, I don't think they would remove them and turn them into promos for this. I don't know. I might be wrong. I think they're just promos. Because like to make those are reprints too. So to put that into Raging Surf, that would be a little weird, right? Maybe.
Not necessarily.
We'll see. Anyway,
yeah,
they're cute. All right, let's talk about Raging Surf. So
yeah, why not? Let's talk about Raging Surf.
What a great transition.
Exactly.
So all 62 cards from the set were revealed. We haven't seen, as Justin Basil mentioned, we haven't seen all of the secret rares yet, but we have all the cards from the set, and I want to ask you what you think the top maybe 5-ish cards are, or what should we look at?
I mean, let's look at 3 of the Pokemon EX, Jirachi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can talk briefly about the TMs.
Okay, so which one which one first should we?
We got Frostlass right here. Let's just talk about Frostlass, shall we?
Yeah.
So Frostlass has the ability. I translated it as Je ne sais quoi on my site. The translation here is just out of reach. So basically, it says when this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize cards for that knockout. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a way to try to improve your prize trade sometimes. Then it has an attack for 2 water energy, Frost Bullet, does 140 damage. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So I've actually played with this card a little bit. We've done some testing with it, my friends and I. If the ability triggers often, it's not too bad. You can make some games pretty exciting. I think it's just not quite good enough. It has access to tools like Rigid Band from I think it's 151 that reduces the damage you take by 30. It has access to Kricketune from Astral Radiance that increases its HP. So it can be quite a pain in the rear to take down. It can be quite a bulky boy, if you will. But it may not be quite enough. The damage output is just kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, it's only 140.
I mean, you sprinkle 2, right?
Yeah, but
you're doing 20 damage to something on the bench. But Manaphy is so rampant right now that I don't know if that's especially relevant.
Okay, so now what's the other EXs you wanted to...
So next up, let's go to Garchomp.
Right. Oh, perfect.
So Garchomp has Hydrolander, so 160 damage, and then attach up to 3 fighting energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon any way you like. Now, first off, a 1 energy attack that does 160 damage is crazy. Even on a stage 2, that's so high. And then, because apparently that's not enough, they said, and you get to accelerate 3 fighting energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon. We've also started testing this. This card is insane. Literally, its only negative is that it's weak to lightning type Pokemon. Miraidon is of course doing fairly well right now, which is a little concerning for this. We've also seen some of the reveals from the Paradox Pokemon, including Iron Hands. So we'll see. But as is in a vacuum, especially, this card is incredibly good. And then, as if Hydrolander weren't enough, you see Sonic Dive for double colorless. Yeah, exactly. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Oh no, so hard. This attack does 120 damage to one of your Pokemon, or to one of your opponent's Pokemon rather, and don't apply weakness or resistance. So you're sniping. So if they don't have a Manaphy out, you're getting that surprise KO. And then, and I didn't even mention this with Hydrolander, because it's only a 1 energy attack. You have access to Cheryl, right? Cheryl says heal all the damage from all of your evolution Pokemon and then knock all the energies off of them. So it's a 1 energy attachment. So Cheryl, attach, and you're back to full health and attacking for 160 damage and accelerating all that energy that you just knocked off with Cheryl. It's incredible.
Ooh, you're making me sound so. I'm feeling very excited by this card,
It's so cool,
and it's a water type too. It's like, oh, I want to play it.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Maybe this will get me into the playing again. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, and and the what was the other EX? Tapu Coco.
Let's look at Goldango.
Oh, Goldango. Oh, let me just show Tapu Coco real quick, actually. So
sure.
this was the only EX we hadn't seen yet, from the set, but that's what it looks like. And then,
I love that art, by the way.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's from the side. It's a nice profile shot. And then Goldango. Let me just control F it. Okay, there it is. Goldango. Okay.
So Goldango has the ability bonus coins. 1 string or turn, you may draw a card. If this Pokemon is in the active spot, draw 2 instead. And then it has the attack. This is an interesting one. I'll talk about this in a second. It's actually Gold Rush.
Yeah.
Not Make It Rain.
Yeah.
But we'll discuss that.
That's
50 times damage. Discard any number of basic energy cards from your hand. This attack does 50 damage for each card discarded in this way. This is very similar to Blissathlon GX I mentioned way back at the beginning of the podcast. But it's great, right? That's a ton of damage. You can get the energy pretty quickly and easily into your hand. We have stuff like energy retrieval, superior energy retrieval. You have things like the Eldegoss from Evolving Skies that allows you to search your deck for 2 energy cards and put them into your hand. So you can build damage very, very quickly off of Goldango. And then it draws, which we know drawing cards is good. That's how it works in Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But to the point of Make It Rain, right?
Yeah. So the attack name, the translation,
the attack name.
It's a bit of a.
It's interesting because so Gold Rush was used in an Ultra Prism set for a Alolan Dugtrio.
Yep.
And it had 100% identical. It's just a lower damage amount, right?
Version,
it was a 30 instead of 50. Right. But it's a single prizer, level wall searchable, that kind of thing. Cool card. Gold Rush. But when Goldango came out, they're like, oh, signature ability or signature attack in the video games is going to be Gold Rush.
It's Gold Rush.
And that's what it's called in Japan.
Yeah.
But in here, when they localized it, they called it Make It Rain. Well, the problem is Gold Rush already existed in the TCG by exactly the same name. So now we'll see when they translate it, if they translate it as Make It Rain or if they translate it as Gold Rush.
I think they're just going to call it Make It Rain because that's its signature attack in the video game. I don't think they're going to care if it's inconsistent, are they? I mean, there's some...
They kind of have to because there are cards... Now, they're not important cards, so we'll see. But there are cards where that actually could matter, especially in expanded format where you're comparing the attack names of 2 different cards. And in Japanese, those 2 cards do have the same attack name. Right. But in English, they won't.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're going to watch closely. That's a bit of a pickle for them.
That's not a pickle. That's the whole jar.
What were the other 2 cards you wanted to go over?
Let's look at Jirachi.
Oh, yes, of course. Got a comment in the... It's hard to navigate on this new computer.
You'll get used to it.
He helped me build this computer actually just for this podcast, and I really appreciate it. He's always helping people in real life and in the community. Okay, so we've got Jirachi.
Yes, so Jirachi has the ability Stellar Veil. Attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon can't put damage counters on your benched Pokemon. And then charge energy as an attack for a single colorless energy. The effect of that is search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So Stellar Veil is the importance of this card, really. Charge energies, fine, whatever. But Stellar Veil. So this
it's saying we're sorry about Sableye.
That's the thing though, is it may not be enough for Sableye.
Oh.
So yes, it will stop Sableye putting damage counters on your Pokemon. The problem is Sableye is not the only threat, right? You also have to worry about Radiant Greninja. And Radiant Greninja is not stopped by Stellar Veil.
Yeah.
So you would also have to have Manaphy in play, which means you're now giving up 2 bench spots to try to protect your Pokemon. So in addition to already having your squishy basics out, you also have to have a Jirachi and a Manaphy down to protect your Pokemon.
At least they're the cute mythicals.
Right. But yeah, it's important to be clear on the wording of Stellar Veil too. It's only blocking the effects of damage counter placing attacks, right? So things like Sableye or like Vespiquen where it drops damage counters, right? It's not going to be protecting you from things like Radiant Greninja that does damage directly. That's not how that works.
It's putting damage counters.
Yes.
All right.
So will it see play? Yes. Yeah. Is it a one-stop shop for ending Lost Box? No, it's not.
At least it helps put a dent in it.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right, and then what were the other cards you wanted to go over?
We'll just real quick. Let's celebrate the return of Technical Machines. I know we talked about Technical Machines earlier when we talked about the Treasures of Ruin, but let's highlight ones that aren't so broken.
So Turbo Energize.
So we have Turbo Energize, Turbo Energize and Blindside. So Turbo Energize has an attack. It is an attack. Turbo Energize allows you to search your deck for 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your bench Pokemon any way you like. That's a pretty good effect. It is an attack, so it's similar in that respect to Arceus V, where you're accelerating some energy. So theoretically, this could see some play. You would need to use this in conjunction with something like Arvin or Town Store to ensure that you can get Turbo Energize out on your first turn, which could be an issue. And it's also worth noting that all these Technical Machines discard themselves at the end of your turn, so you are going to need them on the turn that you need them. You can't just attach them and use them later. Blindside, similarly, Technical Machine Blindside as
this one costs 3 colorless.
Attack.
This one costs 3 colorless.
It does.
All the ones we've talked about.
There's something
so far
interesting about this attack that's very worth noting, and I'll talk about that just in a second. So Blindside does 100 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with any damage counters on it. So let's say you've been sprinkling some damage counters with Sableye, and then you're not applying weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon, obviously. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and you have a Cramorant out. So Cramorant has the ability that shuts off the attack costs of any attacks that you use. That would include Blindside, which means now Blindside is a free-to-use attack. So for no energy, you're doing 100 damage snipe with Cramorant.
Damn. Dang.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's pretty crazy.
They really are making these TMs powerful for their return. They didn't hold anything back with them.
It's good that they are. It's nice to see them back. But again, just to re-highlight, you do have to attach it on the turn you're going to use it because it does not stay attached.
Yep. So you have to make sure you're going to actually use it.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, those are the highlights I think from Raging Surf.
Yeah,
there's some other cards that are kind of interesting, but check out the article on PokeBeach for the full list of all the cards from Raging Surf.
And we're gonna get all the secret rares next week and a couple this week, I'm sure. And just check out the article for the ones that we've seen so far. And yeah, so I guess that's
good stuff.
That's it for the week. I think we went through it all. We survived I survived our first podcast.
Survived. You make it sound so bad. I just want to highlight one thing real quick too. There is a special event in Barcelona this weekend. So for players in Europe that have a ticket to Barcelona and are able to play in that event, best of luck to all of you. I hope you're all able to win. I know only one in each division can, obviously, but best of luck to each of you.
All right. So thanks for listening. Be sure to check PokeBeach.com for all the latest Pokemon TCG news, as we've been doing for 20 years now. And it's been a pleasure sitting with you, Justin Basil, even though that's not your name.
Justin Basil, yes, for sure. Thanks for having me. It's good to be a little co-host on a great little podcast here. So check out PokeBeach.com. Also check out JustinBasil.com. I am on Twitter. I am on Threads. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Check me out on all those. You can find all of my links by going to JustinBasil.com/links.
Nice. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week if there's news.